Well, it's morning, so good morning to all of you this morning. We're going to cover a very interesting subject today because it plays a vital part in all of our lives. In other words, we don't get by without it, and that is money. And money is the second biggest problem in marriages today. It's a huge, gigantic problem. So we need to start early in teaching our children about money. Where does it come from? It doesn't grow on trees. You can't go out and pick money off a tree and you got money. No, you get money from selling a particular part of your life for so much an hour, so much per week, or whatever caliber you're marked at. But you're selling your life. And children don't realize. I used to tell the kids when I was at summer camp, where do you think your bed came from? Where do you think the clothes on your back came from? Uh, all the food and everything, where do you think it come from? And you don't appreciate where it come from because your dad had to sell a part of his life to get the money to buy the things that you have. So you need to realize the tremendous importance of money in our lives. It costs to live. It costs for food. It costs for clothing. It costs for gas. And one of the things too that I always talk to guys about when I'm counseling them for marriage is that it costs for makeup and it costs to get your hair fixed. And a lot of guys don't realize that because they just go to the barber shop and for a few bucks get their hair cut and it's all done. But there's so many expensive things that we don't understand about life that your children are confronted with. When I was working with young people, I used to divide them up in a group. Now, these are about, 12, 10, 12, 14, 15-year-old kids. But I would divide them up in pairs, boy, girl. And then I would send them out and I'd say, okay, I want this group to go out and find out what it costs to have a baby. Go to the hospital, you can talk to them or a doctor and somebody that they'll tell you and talk to you, or you can find out somewhere. I told another group to go find out what it costs to buy a car, how much money you needed to have down, how much your payments were going to be, to help understand that. Then I had another group divided up. You go to the clothing store, find out what it costs for shirts and sweaters and all the things that mom and dad buy for you because you don't realize what it costs. You just put them on. Mom wants new clothes, and so you buy new clothes, buy a suit. And so I divided them all up in this category. I'd go home, talk to your mom and dad. This was another group that had to find out what the house costs, how much you have to pay for rent, how much you have to pay for house payments. All of these things that young people never think about until they get there, and then they don't have any money. And it creates arguments and it creates problem because you spend it for this and we needed it for that, and they don't discuss it and talk about it. So it's a real problem as far as teaching children the importance of money, where it comes from, and things of that nature. Now, there's some important lessons that you can help teach them. One of them was to be always, I should say, always ready to give God his first. Now, every book that I have ever read, almost everyone, very, very few eliminated, have always said the same thing. If you're going to budget money and you're going to talk about money, they always say, give God his first. Now, I always used to tell people that, you give God a little bit, and his shovel is bigger, and it's easier to shovel it down from heaven than it is to try to shovel it up. So it's kind of an interesting concept, but you'll never outgive God, and you can't outgive him. And so he's the one that created it. But we often grow, we're in a money world. To most people, it becomes an idol. They'll do anything to obtain it. Some people rob banks. Why? Because they want more money. They steal it in whatever manner they can get, and it's a real problem in society because everything is based on money, and it's very, very important to be able to teach that. So there's other important principles to learn too. Have a savings account. People don't save today. Very few have a little savings account. But if we had applied the principles that God gave us, save 10% and give it to him, then save 10% and set it away. What if we, those of you who are listening, had saved 10 cents of every dollar you ever made? And you did that until Social Security came in. You wouldn't need Social Security. All Social Security would be good for is a little beer money. So we don't teach those principles to our kids. We spend right up to the maximum amount of our income. And that's what we do. If people don't have a lot of money, they may drive a Ford. People who have a lot of money drive a Cadillac. Some do. Drive a Cadillac. So you upgrade your standard of living. And so we don't stop to think of the importance of saving money and setting it a little aside for a rainy day or for other things that can come up. I always try to tell my kids when they were growing up, you need, back then when I was telling them, $3,000 before you get married. Why? Well, it helps a lot to get started on the right foot. Most young people I counsel for marriage have a college debt, they have a car debt. Both him and her are buying a car. Both of them have a debt. So you're getting married, $10,000 in debt. How is that going to help with the understanding of working together and not having problems of, you get mad when you don't have money to be able to buy some of the things you want. And it creates arguments and creates problems. And pretty soon, one or the other says, well, I never expected this in marriage. And divorce enters into the picture. So money plays a part in our life, throughout our life, all the way through it. And so we need to be able to teach the children early the value of money and where it comes from. And if you want something, work for it. I remember an example of my three girls that were in high school, and they all made the cheerleading team, and they all needed $150 apiece for the uniforms and for everything else that went with it. And so they come home and say, hey, Dad, we made the cheerleading team. We're excited, and we need $150 each. And I said, whoa, hold on. $150 and $150 and $150 is almost $500. You guys will have to forget cheerleading or come up with some other solution. So Nancy said, well, let's all sit down and let's see what we could do to help raise the money or get the money. So she decided that the boys could make hanging baskets. We had a bunch of cedar at that time. And so she says, you make 100 baskets and we'll get the flowers and then we'll sell them for $15 a piece, and we'll have more than enough money for all the girls in their cheerleading. I said, nobody's going to buy these flower baskets. And she said, yes, they will. They'll buy them. And she had a way to make money at that point. But anyway, all of us went to work and made the baskets. We got 100 empty baskets. She went to a florist and talked them into giving her a lot of extra plants. She told them what it was for and what the girls needed. And the florist, I don't know how she got all that stuff, but we got enough to fill 100 baskets. And we filled them all up, and they sold every one of them for $15. Now, they had enough. So sometimes your children come up with things. I remember one time they wanted a mini bike. Hey, we want a mini bike. And my idea was, how are you going to get it? Well, we thought you'd buy it for us. And I said, no, I can help, but I'm not buying a mini bike for you. So that year they picked berries, blackberries, raspberries. They even painted names. I went around and redid mailboxes for people. And I told them, don't tell them you'll do it for so much money. Just tell them you'll paint their mailbox and they can decide what it was worth. Let them give you that part. Don't say we need $20 or $10. Don't tell them that. Let them make the decision. You'll get enough funds painting those mailboxes if you do it right, and you'll learn a lot. And so they did, and they got enough money for that mini bike themselves. So you've got to teach them early. If you want something in life, work for it. Don't sit down and wait for the government to take care of you and to give you money and to look after you, because then you become a subject of the state. They take care of you, and that's it. So there's important things to listen. If you don't plant the seeds early in their life, they're not going to grow. And because they'll come to you and they'll say, hey, I need a couple of bucks for this and a couple of bucks for that. And they think all they have to do is ask. You put your hand in your pocket, pull out a couple of bills and say, here it is. When they wanted to go to the movie, they wanted to go someplace, say, Dad, can we have a little bit of money to go someplace? I says, yes. You see that wood pile out there? Take that wood pile, bring it on in up to the porch, and I'll give you the money. And they all said, okay, so let's go. And they all got together, worked together, because that's an important element to learn. Within a family, you need the family work together, help each other. Then the funds are available for what you need. So money plays an important part. You don't get along without it, and it just costs to live. So think of those things. I missed it.